Well, you can ask those, I guess, in any order. Some of them made sense with the things that we had going on. But hey, let's go ahead and show this first little clip here. This will kind of get us kicked off anyway. Thanks for being here, everybody.
Actually, we watched the last of these things.
Right?
That's you?
Former life ago.
I still see the personality shining through.
So we were both scholarship athletes there for Northern Iowa, and that's kind of where we discovered disc golf. So that was in the early 90s. 92, I think, was the first time we threw a piece of plastic at a piece of metal. And we played it as a study break with a Frisbee, and we thought it was so hard to actually get it to stay in it. We just played metal or above. And we'd be out there with a few softball players and a few football players, and we just had a blast. But we really didn't think too much of it from there. But went back. I'm originally from Iowa on the Mississippi River. Des is from the heartland, central Iowa. And we played our first PDGA event in like 1998. It's not even on record. But how did that turn out for you, Des?
I won. And I won with...
Do you want to hear them, by the way? Do you want them to hold a microphone?
I can talk louder.
All right.
Yeah.
No, it's fine. You want to
It is funny.
sure.
You can hear it great. So yeah, the first event I played, I actually won, and I won with, you can do it, one disc. Any guesses of what that disc might have been? Nope.
What year?
You're on the right brand.
1998. Summer Sweat. 98. Gazelle was it? Whoever said Gazelle, that was the disc I won when I won. So to complement my Cobra. So I won with a Cobra and got a Gazelle and a Pepsi windsock that worked out really perfectly because Jay and I, before we were disc golfers, we were avid backpackers, and we also, after leaving university, we started our own business, and then we were selling lemonades and Pepsi products, and I won a Pepsi windsock that actually worked really brilliantly with my business, which probably meant more to me at that point in time than that Gazelle did.
Oh, that's awesome. Cobra, write it down. Trivia question.
Cobra, still have it.
The
Same one with my maiden name on it and my college address.
Very cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So again, like I'm going to let you all lead, but I will provoke some questions, and then this can be interactive too, right? If we have questions. So playing 1992, the first time throwing at metal, and then kind of what year did you just say?
92. That was 98.
98. Okay. But there's a big difference, which many of us can appreciate, from playing disc golf, being really good at disc golf, but then choosing to quote unquote tour, which also, like when you started touring, is kind of a different thing than we need now. Just curious,
yes.
So like, what was the catalyst that made you want to go on tour?
Yeah, no, that is a great question. So you saw one of those pictures with the banners, Welcome Disc Golfers. So like a lot of things, I guess when we have something going on, we like to just dive in and like full on, all gas, no brakes. And disc golf was one of those. We ran into a few people hanging out at the only course that was available in the Quad Cities where we were living. And they were promoting something called an ice bowl. We're like, ice bowl, tell us more. We're like, well, we're trying to get a club together, actually. It's just us enthusiasts. And we're like, club? Like, sure, we'll join. So we literally helped found the Quad City Disc Golf Club. And that picture was from us selling ices, but then also like, well, we found disc golf. Why wouldn't we have people putt and buy ices? So it kind of just happened like that. And then we talk about, the touring side. It's a tough question to answer until we get to 1999 where this left off, and then we pick up into the touring side. So in 99, I'll finish with we played a couple of Iowa tournaments. I ended up winning a couple intermediates. Des was already an advanced player at that point. And in 99, we liked these tournaments so much, we were like, what's going on around us? And someone's like, there's this big event called a Super Tour. It's an A-tier PDGA. It's up in Madison, Wisconsin. Man, we loved Madison. We used to go up there for canoeing and fishing and hiking and biking and all that stuff. So why wouldn't we go up for disc golf? And we didn't know what to expect. We kind of took our camping stuff up there, and then we realized, like, well, we actually don't even really have a place to camp, and we're actually in Madison proper. What do we do from there?
Yeah, so we set a tent up on hole 17 at one of the courses. Didn't really even think like that would be a problem or anything else like that. And then disc golf still back then had a big glowy enthusiasts, and a group of people came and was playing glow around our tent, and it was shocking for all of us. We just kind of stayed hunkered down and zipped up in there, and they just shined the flashlight through there and went, oh, yo, there's some disc golfers out here. And then they proceeded to go, and that same Super Tour, I tied for the win, lost in a playoff, but it was just a fantastic kind of like get up and go. And before that, when we were playing, back in the PDGA, people were like, well, how did you not get your PDGA number in 92? Well, the internet wasn't available as readily as it is right now, and you had to get the newsletter, which we didn't subscribe to the PDGA's newsletter, so we didn't really find the PDGA until 1999 when we kind of were getting more involved into it, and you could just play for $1. So that's all it was. So we played a bunch of different events in Iowa, and you just would have to, if you weren't a member, you just had to pay $1.
Yep. And that was that 99 was really a catalyst of what potentially could be. Not only did she tie and go into a playoff, and I was on a different course and I just had heard about it, but everybody was talking about like, who's this new gal out of Iowa, like our stellar, amazing advanced woman that has been playing for years, like just got tied by someone no one even knows her name. And then we went to the final 9, and I got to tell this story because you guys are going to love it. So 99, they had a skins match, and it was one of Iowa's top players, Jeff Harper, and
Hall of Fame.
Hall of Famer, and then a couple guys out of Illinois. And all the great players in Illinois back in the day had nicknames. So this was, let's see, they had, Al Sugar Shack came out of Michigan, I'm sorry, and then they had the Ripper. What was his name, though?
The Ripper.
The Ripper.
That's why you have. That's why you have Yeti. That's why
The
you
Ripper.
have names.
And then there was Alex the Rifleman Bingman. So this guy was a blue collar guy that played well enough in open. He'd be somebody that you'd be like, oh yeah, I'll play it for $10 right now. And of course, he'd take your milk money every time. But this guy, the first hole was uphill, and they made it a safari hole. He throws in a 250-footer for the first $50. And we're just like, did that just happen? Unbelievable. Second hole, about probably 600 feet, they had to throw rollers along this hillside. This is at McElver Park in Madison. Everybody throws pretty short. His roller goes long and deep into the woods. These guys all throw their up shots. Finally, it's Alex's turn. He disappears into the woods. He's waiting. Here comes this disc flying out of the gap. Boom, he hits another one. We were just like, is this game easy or is this guy absolutely incredible? And he sticks the other 50 in his little sports sock and we're moving on. And it just, that was the hook and sinker of like, this game's unbelievable. And, we all were having a good time and partying. So that was one of the things that kind of really like, so people do this everywhere,
And it was a top-notch event. So it did bring outside sponsorship in. We talk about it nowadays like, oh, it's so amazing that all these outside sponsors are coming into the sport, but they have always been there. It's just been on not as a noticeable level. So I think those branches are really now carrying over into a prominent, and because we have such a good base that they were grounded on, that's why we're really seeing that big surge with those outside sponsors.
I'm just curious to follow up a little on that decision to tour, because nowadays, if somebody in 2025 is thinking I might want to go on tour, they're like consuming disc golf media, like YouTube or wherever, just consuming it. They think, of course, maybe they don't know, but what it's like to be on tour and all the glamour and the grind and all of that. But like choosing to tour in '99, you weren't consuming media on disc golf 24/7, etc. So I'm still curious, like, was this just the love of the game and the competitive opportunity and the lifestyle, like those things just came together and you were like, let's go for it?
I'd say yes.
We were backpackers and adventure hikers and stuff, but then it was, so out of 99 and her points that she got at that one Super Tour got her an invite to the 2000 World PDGA Championship. Yeah. So we're like, what? You got an invite? Like, wow, where's this at? Ann Arbor, Michigan. Wow, that sounds fun. Yeah, let's go. Wait a second. I didn't get an invite. I actually wrote in, my wife got invited and I play too, so if there's room, can I play? And sure enough, it was a combined worlds, and they invited me. So off to Michigan, 2000 Worlds, again, like another just groundbreaking. We actually met Steady Ed. We're like, this guy's invented this game, you know? We're like, you know, meeting people. I got one of my favorite autographs is I've got Ron Russell's first opposite-handed, he was left-handed, so his first right-handed autograph after he had broke his hand at Cass Benton. And of course, you know, we're just like, oh yeah, you're the 99 world champ is what they're saying. You're defending and broken arm. Like, geez, well here, sign this. That's gonna be kind of cool to see. And he was just like, I wonder if I can. So like, it literally is hilarious. It's a big sketchy sketch. And you got third in that one, right?
I did get third, and I'm still dear friends with those top 4 women that I played with. So I think that is really another thing that kept us on tour, is those established, you know, that's 25 years later. And I did just call the winner of the AM Worlds, and I've watched both of her children grow, and I think that is what really kind of kept us on, especially in those lean years when you're really working hard. Another pivotal thing when we were out there, it probably was that same year in 2000, we decided we'd dip our foot into each of the Great Lakes, and that's kind of what prolonged the tour for us. And then out in Pennsylvania, we were really self-sufficient, being married and backpackers. You know, we didn't really flop on couches or anything else like that. We'd rather support the state parks and pitch a tent also. And someone came up to us and allowed us to camp in his backyard. And he sent us off with new potatoes that he got out of his garden and some garlic. And I'll never forget him. The glass door was cracked and we were outside and he was talking to his girlfriend or wife, probably his girlfriend because she wasn't around all the time. She was like, I can't believe that you're having people just randomly stay at your house. And his words specifically were like, they're disc golfers, they're cool, you know? And he did. I mean, that was just so groundbreaking on the level of generosity, and then just to show us all of that stuff. And those really rang true, and I think we've always harbored that as we continue on in disc golf.
And so I think, I mean, the sport and the world has evolved a lot, but I feel like there's still such a core, like, root, that thread is still there of that common. Like, they're disc golfers, they're
That's it.
100%.
which is really, really, like, awesome.
It is.
So, Josh, I'm going to add to that because my favorite part of that story was I came in and won the advanced. Like, whoa, all right, a super tour. My wife just took cash for the first time. She's all of a sudden a pro. And I won AM Men. So all of a sudden it was like, let's go on the road and do this. Let's see if we can actually do this. So that really was the catalyst to like, all right, 2001, it looks like we're going to kind of make this happen.
So that's 2001, and I know the answer, rhetorical question. How long until the first like world championship? Like,
Yeah, well, let's roll part 2 there, and I think it's the Champ Rises.
You need some of that music that's queued up on those other ones.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't have quite, I'm showing my AV skills here. Houston World Championship. We showed up and won the mixed doubles world championship to start the whole week. I think that was a huge one for Kenny too. Wasn't that his like?
It was 11.
11, yeah. Yeah, and then, you know, Des again, all of a sudden, like, I mean, she was named co-rookie of the year in 2001, and then won the world championship. And again, kind of like out of nowhere, everybody was like very intrigued. The disc golf community was very loving. We went to a lunch, and Ken was there, and of course he wanted to come up and talk to us. And was Kenny really supportive of you in the lead position?
That's a nice lead in. So we did talk about this last night, and Jay's memory on this, he's like, man, Ken was really like, Champ was like so excited for you to win. And I was like, do you know why he was really excited for me to win? You know, because like we didn't really like know the Champ like I do now. And Jay's like, what do you mean by that? I was like, Champ will probably deny this, but he did come up to me. He's like, gosh, I'm so glad that you're going to win this. And he's like, because I really don't want Juliana to beat my record of the amount of worlds in there. So it was a little self-serving, but, you know, like, Champ's all in my corner now, so it's good.
So, yeah, he was rooting for you nonetheless.
He was. I got the Champ rooting for me.
Which just made me pretty
Yes.
And obviously that nickname is uniquely for Ken, but really, like, I mean, you were also the champion there for a while. Right?
Oh, absolutely. I pretty much was from 2000 to around the 2009 mark when Juliana, Val had come in. She had already won Worlds, but of course the power rankings and all those weird things. I was ranked number one for about a decade, from about 2002 to about 2010. So about 8 years right there, I was the number one woman in the world. Traveled a little bit over to Japan to play. Never did make it to Europe. The cost ratio just never made sense to be able to do it, and especially when you're looking at two people, we just couldn't even like fathom going over there. And because we liked traveling and seeing places, so I never really wanted to go and just play an event just to play an event. Like, it's way better to go play the event and know that's your vehicle and opportunity to immerse yourself in a new culture, a new land. And as I look out of here, I can see a lot of family and friends out here, because that is what you should do. You just shouldn't come in, put your hard hat on and play. That doesn't mean like I want you to tell me I should be smiling when I'm playing on the course, because that is one of my number one pet peeves, is the smile. And I agree, disc golf is fun, it'll make you smile, but when you're out there and you're playing and you're competitive, most of the time you're just not smiling. It doesn't mean you're angry, you're just not smiling. So the answer to that was a flip over in 1 year. Yeah.
So again, I mean, I'm going to say congrats years later, but congrats on a lot of accolades. It's really interesting to hear how it went from 92, but really 99, and then 2001, as you just narrated, and 2002, and then there was a stretch where like you dominated.
And it was kind of full on. We decided in 2001 we were serious. We were fortunate enough to be both full scholarship Division I athletes, so we were out of school debt free. And when you're debt free, it kind of gives you that opportunity to take a chance on yourself, and we just decided to do that. And that meant we had to leave Iowa in the snow and playing in Sorels and everything else. Jay's a great putter because we would putt in the basement all the time, and it just wouldn't work though. So we'd moved to Texas in 2001. That last motorhome that you saw was our 87 Southwind that we bought from a couple in Bluegrass, Iowa. It came complete. They cleaned it all out like it should have been, but one drawer, we actually bought it because we thought we were going to buy, or we were going to make, because we had a food business, bogey busting burritos was going to be our hook. You know, that we didn't even try that because that was way too much work. But we were getting in the drawer underneath the refrigerator, and there was a Frisbee. So, I mean, if I actually kind of even forgot all about that like story. That one just like kind of surfaced back up. But that was definitely a foreshadowing of good things to come.
Yeah, it's like, kind of like that's validation. Okay,
It was definitely weird. Right? Although I kind of wish I had their ukulele and stuff they had.
So again, I've got like some other questions here that I think you'll all be interested in. I don't want to lose track of what other video clips. And remember, like, you may be prompted that, I want to follow up on something, like kind of get my attention with your hand.
Yeah, just don't be shy.
Yeah, we're
a small group.
Yeah, and let's go ahead. And that one can just play in the background. That's kind of starting to lead through what we're talking about right now. So that one can just play. That should be like the road goes on forever.
Hey, I got
and
one.
we can kind of talk.
Or if you have something.
Well, this was, I'm going to just like let Jay talk a little bit about this when I talked about how we were training in the winter in Iowa and the downstairs putting, and how did that really affect your putting?
Yeah, no, it was big for sure.
Repair set and stuff?
Yeah, we always had this section at the end of the day. We were both teaching at the time. And that's kind of where Edge was hatched a little bit too. I taught at an alternative school, and I taught social studies, but I also was the head of phys ed. And before I had gotten there,
that's cute. That's 05 Worlds. Sorry.
Oh
I saw
yeah,
that in my
that's
preview.
right.
I'm like, who's moving up there?
Yeah, and look at this wind margin. I just want to point that out because it's kind of pretty awesome. Oh, hello. Yeah, pretty good stuff. So. Teaching at a lot of behavioral disorder type of kids, and the previous PE was outside daytime, nice kickball, bad weather inside gym, breaking up fights. All of a sudden, I'm like, hey, I think this disc golf might work with these guys. So I wrote a grant. I got a target, got some discs, and then we used to take them to just a sister school that had a lot of property. We would do trees and this target. I taught them all how to putt and stuff, but we'd get them in their peer groups. They'd walk around and they'd be laughing and talking smack with each other, and there was no fights because they were with their friends. And all of a sudden, we'd check in with them. We're like, hey, you guys just walked 2 miles today. Good job. And like, what? You couldn't get these kids to walk around the track with a whip if you wanted to get some exercise out of them. So that started to be like, this game is bigger than like us, like, and it's just the wheel, So that's kind of was a hatchment of an idea of like, of Edge, and to just finish the Edge portion, because that we founded Edge in 2003, but that was because Des qualified for the U.S. Championship. I was qualified for the U.S. Championship, and she had a fateful round with CEO Innova Harold Duvall. And he had a lot of questions about education, and then liked what we said and invited us into a brainstorming meeting after USDGC, and Edge was hatched. So that was 2003, and of course we're moving into 05 and 6, and some of my favorite Nephaites are all here. This is the original pool ball
Yellow
happening.
ball let me down.
Oh
here.
my goodness.
This past event, right?
Yeah, I knew what it was immediately when I saw that post.
Nice.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, so you mentioned so many things that people may be curious on, everything from Edge to sponsorship. We kind of breezed by putting, but I don't want to breeze by.
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
You're a good putter, Des, but like you're known for your putting, like multiple, maybe like 7-time world champ if you would count the divisions.
6 total, yeah.
6?
Yeah.
Okay.
Five open and current Masters.
So, like, how did you discover? I mean, you talked about putting and all
Yeah.
that. Like, was that just natural for you, or at some point you were like, I'm going to be the putting world champ? I mean, were you?
Well, that's a great question. It's I played a little bit of golf when I was young enough to. My first job was myself with a Walkman on and walking in the woods and picking up golf balls and then putting them in an egg crate and selling back to them, so I could afford junior rates on Thursdays. And then the game became inaccessible to me because it was just too expensive. But I always knew short game was the key. Football, unfortunately, busted up my knees. I've never been a long thrower. But I knew drive for show, putt for dough, super, super concentrated, like Des said, sessions in the basement with, that was 97X, pure rock and roll. And they used to do this 10-minute segment of just like, of just a bunch of different songs together, and we would call them perfect hair sets because it was all Hair Nation kind of, that style of rock at the time. So I concentrated hard on that. I was always a pretty good, and am still a good target. I was amazing with a snowball, a crab apple, that type of stuff. But it really clicked in with, playing in some tournaments against guys that could throw so much farther than me, and then watching myself either stay with or even beat. And it was purely all because, boy, if I could drive like you, boy, if I could putt like you, and so that's really what kind of drove me to concentrate on putting purely.
And it's interesting when we were talking about in the basement too with that perfect hair set, it had columns. And so I'm always like curious of Jay's style of putting, which is very like linear and on target, no lofting that we see nowadays. And that was probably because of that low ceiling and those columns. And so he had to just be a point and shoot, kind of, just stick it there. And as we do that and we notice that, and even in our backyards, and this is a good tip for people who struggle putting, you're so good in your backyard, but you're visually familiar. So your whole body mannerisms and your mentality goes into a really, that flow state that everybody talks about. And so it's really important when you're putting in your backyard to always switch it up. Don't always putt at the same spot. Don't always putt looking at the back of the fence or whatever it might be. You need to move it around. And both of us at the end of our sessions when we putt, depending on how many putters you get, Jay, I think like I don't remember, 6 or so, depends. But we take a mini marker or a disc and just randomly get at the target and then throw them out. Some can be 50, some might even be 7 feet. But you know what? We always have to make that 7-footer. And then you go and you mark it and you do your routine every single time. So that is the mentality switch that I think everyone should turn on as you're doing reps. Nothing is ever going to beat repetition. The more reps you get, the more you get. But if you continually just rep in the same spot, your brain will become just stupid. So you need to kind of still keep it active as you're playing, and it'll transfer tremendously into your game. And then as you're talking about sponsorships, you got something else?
Yeah, I got something.
Okay, cool.
I got something else.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
That's our tent. It's so good. Well, it's not anymore because that's dead, but it was a great one.
We actually lived in that for an entire year. And I guess that is homeless, isn't it?
And so back then, it was no cell phones. It was pay per cards, where we used pay phones to check in with the family, and we just put the money on the card, and that's how we got around. And if you check the NIFA tent out, they will have from Larry, the originator, the Bible back then, which was the disc golf directory. And it was, yes, give it up for the directory. And over time, it was like this big. And then as we started adding courses, the last one that was there, I think I don't know, maybe 2004. So it ended up being that big. It had driving directions in there. You hope that they were pretty accurate to get you in the spot to go around. But then we would always write our PRs into that directory. And so kind of, if we came back to that course, we would know that, oh my gosh, look at how much I've improved. I shot like +2, now I'm -2 kind of stuff. But I'm amazed at the work and effort that it took to actually find courses. And that is where the community really came in, because to have a course get known, someone had to tell someone about it, so someone else could tell someone else about it, and then you could travel to find them.
So I do want to ask a question about sponsorship. Do we have a different video?
Yeah,
yep.
Yep. It's good. It'll be a good one. I think people will dig that one here.
There's Baby Nate and Champ.
I know one of the questions somebody had asked. Somebody wrote into Des about maybe what she was throwing back when she won her first Worlds.
I'm wondering, what disc were we talking about earlier?
The very first. That was the very first.
Oh, it was the
AM
Cobra.
tournament.
Yes.
Yeah. But somebody wanted to know what she had threw during
what discs were you
Open
throwing
Pro,
when you won your first Worlds?
Yeah.
All right, so we did have one slideshow on there when I got the cover shot. One of my main drivers was the CE Firebird X. So it was a Firebird X, really fast, thin profile. I also won with the 2001 CE Rock. That's kind of like coveted, but back then they were just like, I don't know, kind of, well, it was actually not dime a dozen. It was $25, and it was humongous money back then.
Wait a second, I got to interject. Because
when he bought 2 of them for
the 2001 Amateur World Championships, so this is my show, because next week, and I played in back-to-back, but next week was her show in Minneapolis for the Pro World Championship, all right? So that was my transition. But at Am Worlds in Nashville, Innova starts wheeling in all these boxes, and all of a sudden, there comes the line start. What's this about? What kind of discs they got here? Oh, it's some kind of 2001 rock, I guess. Like, let's check them out. And I'm like, oh, these are pretty sweet. $25. You got to be kidding me. Come on, D. I mean, she's like, they're discs. You've won so many. Like, what? You don't need any of these. But I had to write a check even.
For 2 is all I would like to.
I got my limit, and we both started using them, and they were pretty awesome.
They were awesome.
Thanks, babe.
Yeah, you're welcome. Now they're probably worth a lot. But
so 01 Rock, FX.
Yep, the FX, and then I putted with a no bead, very hard ABR driver, which my putter switched tons over the years. The Mint Profit, Soft Profit is by far the best putter that I've putted with, but as my game changed and my grips changed, I did not fear moving on from putters. Like, you just sometimes that old saying, just don't beat the dead horse. Like, if it just wasn't working, I'm really knock-kneed. So I noticed, I was starting to miss. I became a straddle putter, So I played around with a lot of different things, just knowing as we age, as we get better at things, as our muscles get better, things in our body will actually shift around. So I've changed putters. I've had 7 different putters over time, and I have no problem changing putters.
You still have those discs?
Yes, I do. The 2001 Rock might have finally broke.
Well, you gave it to me.
But you broke
it.
on your dime.
Broke on my watch.
He broke it.
Watching Jay throw 4 of them in the water at Maple Hill.
Oh.
Then go diving for them.
Yep.
Late.
I'll give you that story because that came out earlier. So yes, I'm a no soldier left behind. So I'm there till we're gonna get him. We're gonna bring him home. So hole 8 specifically, practice round. Her, Mitch Sonder fan. We had a good group, and oh man, looks good. Wall, but right there in the shallow. We get over there. Well, it should be right here. We saw it hit the wall, right? Okay, wait. Okay, stick. Nope. Okay. All right, I'm going in. I'm ankle deep here. Nothing. All right. Well, those guys are kind of, I'm like, it's already been, 10 minutes, Jay. Get it later. It'll be turned in. No. You guys go on. Next thing you know, waste. Once you get the boys wet, it's over. And then now I'm down and literally I am frogman down here. I watched a snake eat a frog. I pulled a leech off of my bicep. Now I'm tiptoeing down there. I've thrown 30 and I finally find mine. What a moment. But literally it hit the wall and it must have went at an angle and did the old boop, 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 boop. You guys know. But yeah, so thank you, Scooter.
Yeah, and listen, I'm saying this with a smile on my face. Like, we still have plenty of time, but tell me we couldn't have like a 4-hour session with him and just so I want you to know we want all the stories, but
Yeah.
Let's
get on cool
go
podcasts.
to this next section.
Yeah, so you're talking about discs and all this, and these things are made by manufacturers, etc. So what was the transition to sponsorship, and how and when did you first get sponsored? And maybe both of you give your angle on this.
Oh yeah, no, yours. Well, I'll admit I've been in her beautiful huge shadow for a long time, and I love it. That's why we've won 3 mixed doubles world championships together, and we each have our own kind of games, and it's been a great like that. But obviously I've been sponsored by Innova from the beginning. I'm one of the only guys that can say been loyal to one company. Everybody jumps around, and hey, I don't blame them, all that stuff. But it's been a great ride, and I definitely got a great look early because of, and your story is, I think, the really cool one.
Well, I got just outside sponsorship is a different thing. I was originally sponsored by Innova. Before I was a world champion, there was national doubles or world doubles that would play in Texas. And so we moved down in 2001 in the fall, played it in 2002 with Sheila Kirkham, who was sponsored by Discraft at the time. We're coming up, we got a heated battle. It was Leslie Todd and Sue Stevens, who were winning at that point in time. We had 3 holes left to go, hole 16, reachable. Sheila parks it. She looks at me and she goes, Des, if you ace, we will be up by 1 and we can par out and beat them. I aced with a TL. Just pissed John Houck off because he hated that hole and he never could move it again. It's probably why he sold the place. But we aced, and then we parred out, and then we won. And because of that ace, and just kind of, I don't know, everything just aligned. Sam Ferens was there, Dave Tunabase were both partners at that time, and they sponsored me on the spot by hooking me up with some bar stamp SE special edition T-Birds.
T-Birds, yeah.
Yep, T-Birds. So I had a little loot stack, and then that same year in 2002, that was just the fire that did it to me. And they kind of gave me the caveat, you're our girl, but you got to do a little more on the side, and Juliana was the top dog at the time, the top cat, and so, basically they're like, you just got to get her, and then I clipped her in my hometown at the Des Moines Challenge when her Juliana Korver Innova putter came out. It would debuted, and I think it was supposed to be this big splash, and I got her at the Des Moines Challenge. And then I turned around and clipped her again at the Kansas City Wide Open, and then won Worlds that same year, and then backed it up and won the U.S. Women's. And that's kind of a feat. I'd have to double check. I might be one of 2 people that have ever in that same year won the U.S. Women's and the World Championships. So that kind of kicked it all off for that. Outside sponsorship.
Yeah,
though,
let's roll into that because we have a whole.
Yeah, outside sponsorship.
Yeah, so we have let's set this up real quick because I think you guys will be interested in this. So now we're going and we're doing it pretty much full time. and we're starting to look of like why, Edge is like, okay, we started Edge to help the future, but here we are at the top of the game and we're kind of still barely scraping by, like, well, how do we get other people? You saw the picture of Maple Hill. Steve Dodge was one of those early folks that was like, let me reach outside the sport, table talk pies, vitamin water. He was bringing in some folks that were like, now we're talking. And, we decided like, what, you have to build your own brand and you've got to kind of market yourself. So we put together a sponsorship guide and we put together an entire package.
That
and
might sound like this.
we had a real thick, like we did our research, you got to remember it wasn't, just right in front of you like it is now. And we sent out 30 sponsorship packages to companies that we all wish we were sponsored by. And we got a lot of them returned with like, whatever, not even open. And we got a few letters of like, sounds like a cool sport. We'll look into it someday. But we also kind of landed some fish. So if you want to run that sponsorship guide, you'll kind of see what we put together here. But it was pretty cool. I mean, we landed, we are actually, I hear other people say stuff, so it's kind of like, a lot of the old dogs, we don't get a lot of credit for breaking, some of this ground. But we literally were sponsored by Patagonia for 8 years. And those sponsorship, the head of sponsorships, those guys flip over like every 3. And their job and the reason why they flip over is because they clean them out. And then it's a new guy. It's an easy excuse to be like, well, we're going in a different direction.
You're Tim's guy.
Yeah, exactly. So we went through 3 coordinators. And I guess what I hear from the industry, that's like unheard of. So we did a good job of promoting ourselves, and then we would follow up each year and show everybody what we were doing.
We would hand do thank you notes with pictures to show the return on their value, anything that we could. We made sure, just like proper Miss Manners, like tell your sponsors thank you. When when I'm a tournament director, if I do all these tournaments and everyone goes to DB Burgers, but they don't tell them that you're from disc golf, it's mute, So please always say that I'm a disc golfer and I'm here for you, because all the work that we do as tournament players and tournament directors, if nobody says and they just come in, you're just another patron. And so when you do make your voice heard, those voices are heard.
The Patagonia sponsorship also was kind of like hilariously awesome because it was like Fight Club. We don't talk about being sponsored by Patagonia.
Oh, it's true.
We show them that we're sponsored. So like all of a sudden, if people paid attention, Jay and Des were like Patagucci all of a sudden. and it wasn't because we could afford it, but we sure liked quality outdoor gear.
I got their pants on right now still, so they're still great.
We got Simple Shoes, a skateboarding brand, even though neither one of us skateboarded.
I had Maui Gym, and they were prescription sunglasses, and so those
international.
Are super high dollar.
We actually
fabulous.
got checks from them.
Yeah.
So like that was pretty unheard of in 2010.
Kavoo, I know Maria is now sponsored by Kavoo, and that's kind of what we were talking about as things come around again. When we've already laid a little groundwork, just a little bit of that acorn seed does make that big sponsorship. And I see Maria's getting some good stuff going on with Kavoo, and I want to feel like that's some of the team that originally was there.
Do you want to move on to another video clip, or we want to field questions?
Yeah. Somebody can throw something out if they want.
We've got 10 minutes.
Raise
Yes.
your hand, speak up. If we need to repeat it, we will.
You might have answered this before I came in the room, but who's the painter of the two? I saw a painting.
That's me.
Yeah?
I'm a little mixed media, so I've always said I'm an artist in an athletic body. So I'm kind of just trying to kill my athletic body so maybe my artist can come out. But damn, it's a hard body. Don't die on me yet.
Although there is a little bit of an art, right?
There is. For
Carving fairways.
Thanks for noticing.
Good question.
Part of the transition that's happened over the years since we've known each other is, if we go back to those early MSDGCs, the idea is like, ooh, maybe people are going to come and watch or spectate, and now people pay to go and see it. And you guys have lived through that transition, and that's a pretty major change to evolve like that. Can you spend a minute or so on that?
Oh yeah, no, for sure. Maybe it was a financial mistake or not, but I don't regret it at all. We've given clinics all over the United States, hundreds and hundreds. We look back at records, we've averaged 50 people per clinic way back then, and I think that looking at even some numbers now and stuff, that's pretty strong. But the way we did it is because we gave it away for free. Come listen to us talk. We want to help help you become a better disc golfer and live your passion and dream. And it translated into sales because people are like, really? Well, you know what? That was so amazing. I'm going to buy a disc or two from you guys and support what you're doing. So it actually, I think it really ended up being fantastic. And I don't blame these guys for doing, hey, $40, you get 2 discs, and then you're going to go to my clinic. That's, sometimes you got to grind and hustle like that. But I really feel great about how we did it that way. And we did visualize, like, maybe someday they'll pay, but I even question that strategy now. I mean, we know we're at capacity in many, many places, and so it makes sense. You can only raise the price until people stop coming. But perhaps our venues are not quite proper, or we can change it to where, I'm always, man, I wish I had 1,000 people watching me play back in the day. I relished in it. Some people, don't like it, but it's a fantastic spot where we're at, and I'm glad that there is a source that people can make some income to make the tour viable.
And I think it's really so good because now our athletes like Gannon and Kristen can actually concentrate on being athletes. So when we were doing it, you can see as we're talking, we did free clinics, we ran doubles events, we did edge, we did all these other things, tournament directors. So I know personally, I probably could have won more world titles, but I was so stretched thin with even like in 2004, I'm trying to come in and win, but we're running it, helping running it. Jay's an assistant TD, and we're getting phone calls at 2 a.m, So these are not really great athletic things, but it's laid, again, that same foundation to make it happen. So for me personally, I just feel so validated to be able to live and see what you all hoped. Like athletes can be athletes. Tournament directors can be tournament directors. And then when we are just specialized and stylized, that's really why we're seeing our sport grow. Because we've treated it now like a business. We are a complete sport just banded together by volunteers. I feel like one of our flaws back in the day was we didn't treat disc golf like a business in a sense, where it shows worth to the outside person. And now we're starting to see that. We're showing our worth. You hold yourself on value, that value translates to value outside of people. And that's how we retained all those sponsors. We valued ourselves and we valued our sponsor, and it was a likewise thing. And so for me, I'm just like thrilled to be able to see Kristen tap into everything that she can be as an athlete. And we are seeing that benefit because she's bringing no more eyes onto the sport because of it. So I think that is like the most fabulous. We're seeing great tournament directors that run fabulous, disc golf tournaments. The Disc Golf Network, I'm starting to get into more commentary. I'll have 5 more slots this year. And so these are great things as we're starting to slit. Thank you. It's kind of fun. Talk about and watch disc golf. And then be quiet because I'm color.
I'll give Des a stat accolade too on that. She got first or second at the World Championship for 9 years in a row.
Yeah.
That's I'm not going to editorialize, but stuff like that sometimes gets lost, and how does that get lost? Because that's like domination for a decade. It's pretty awesome. So I just want to say, and then they will kick us out because there's another thing. We've got 5 minutes, so we still have some time. But just to kind of you didn't ask this, but compliment them as you listen to these stories. Do you think, disc golf's a big community and a lot of people have built a foundation, but is it not clear how much of a difference? I think our sport is in a different place because of you two and what you've accomplished competitively and all the other stuff, everything about how you've toured and edge and sponsorships and building the community. So thank you for sharing some of these stories with us. It's this is not enough time. With 5 minutes left, I want to ask first of all, was there anything else that you are wanting to share?
No, there was just a background video. We'll post it sometime. We did do a couple incredible videos. That one's a half hour long, but we'll put it up on YouTube sometime. It's actually got music and some pretty good segments in it. Should we do more stuff social-wise? Because it pains us both, but we know that people love it. And
I did finally give up my flip phone, so I have a smartphone.
It's part of the evolution, 25 years on tour. And changing.
Yes.
Did anybody have one last burning question? You were like, I'm getting cut off. Did you have anything? Okay. So
Can I share a quick story?
Yes.
Share a
So,
story.
when I first started getting into learning about competitive disc golf, I was helping over at the Maple Hill Open, MSDGC transition year, Vibram,
Yeah, Marshall Street, what is it called?
I offered to caddy, and I got the opportunity to caddy for Des, and it was very amazing because I knew that you were a good disc golfer, but being able to go out and experience a round with you was just awesome. Get to talk with you and learn you. And then my other favorite story with Jay, you guys just got to Maple Hill one year. I was working one of the first years in the new stack house, and you came in fresh out of the RV. Threw a couple bucks in a sap shot and took it, and I was like, that's amazing. You guys are amazing.
That was a great memory. I was in flip-flops. We just got done driving 12 hours. I grabbed a disc out of the used bin and won 180 by just showing up.
That's the way to do it. And yeah, thank you for sharing that, Aaron. I mean, unfortunately, like, you know, any epic food stories, getting into trouble on the road.
Yeah,
I mean,
just
like,
stay out of it.
I mean, there's just so much, and truthfully, obviously at the expo, we're not going to be able to cram it in, but we
Yeah.
have time for that.
Yeah, I'll touch on the trouble one because when somebody sent that in, and it just made me laugh, and luckily we've been really good for all the years on the road. But talk about trouble. We and Des, we've been pulled over by a bicycle cop.
In a car.
In our car, a Canadian Mountie for going too slow in Moose Jaw, Canada, and a boat cop in our canoe. So, yeah, we've been pulled, but none of them resulted in tickets. But I thought that was
funny. We got
funny.
in trouble 3 times for going too slow and being too safe. So I guess rev it up, everybody.
Here's an irony on the bike cop story, because we apparently, as out-of-towners, the road goes right into this supermarket, and there's no signs or anything, but literally the sign says, "Do not thoroughfare through the supermarket." Well, again, not being here, you don't know that. But there we went, and boy, they were ready. Here's this little flashlight, like going. And we're like, are you kidding me? Is this just happening? Like, we were touring with our big Norwegian forest cat, who was kind of tucked in the back. And all of a sudden, the cop thought he was going to, pull something off. And he's like, the cat hisses at him. And I'm like, good cat. Then all of a sudden, like, look in the glove box. He shines the light. There's a box in there. And it is kind of got some different colors and stuff. He all freaks out. He's like, are those bullets? Is that ammunition? Is that ammunition? I'm like, sir, that's a spare bike tire. So we'll leave it at that.
Hey, so go visit them at their booths. They're still here. Can we give them a round of applause?
Yeah. Thanks for your patience. Sorry about the tickets.
Yeah, in fact, as we're getting booted out of here and load up, I do have some awesome discs to give away. So we'll collect your raffle tickets, and we'll do a quick impromptu right here, because we want to give these guys to you guys who are coming. So.
But I don't have